I have a relatively small channel, a few hundred subscribers, only a small core of which actually watch and comment regularly, so I don't attract much attention. An interesting thing about this is that if I post something controversial or risque, it's largely ignored. In a week or so, no matter who I may have offended, I won't hear much about it again. This is not at all true for the bigger channels. The expanded viewership they enjoy often seems to come at a price in a phenomenon I like to call the big channel blues. Sometimes the scrutiny is called for, but more often these days, I see smaller channels, in an attempt to boost viewership, attack some small point, or willfully misrepresent what was said in order to generate controversy and drama. A fine example of this is when YouTuber Fact vs. Religion posted a video called Hostage Situation. When the less popular Rosebush saw this, he picked up on the possible desecration of a Eucharist, and with his video, "It ain't big and it sure ain't clever," signaled the attack.
Tora!
It's ridiculous to go into a church and to sit there at the back of the church like four fuckwits sniggering at what the people are doing in the rest of the church. It's just pathetic.
And even though they had been invited to the church, sat quietly in the back, helped with the collection, and had a friendly conversation with the priest after the service, it didn't stop the minor channels from making a flurry of videos condemning their actions. The following back and forth of videos and comment section flame wars resembled a feeding frenzy of PC police channels, eager to get noticed, viewed, and subscribed to. Recently, Coughlin666 did a video on Pat Condell. As I stated earlier, sometimes scrutiny is called for. As an American, I had no idea what UKIP was, and I was glad that Coughlin made that video showing the darker side of Pat's philosophy. Still, even though his critique of Pat was justified, his video signaled the start of the attack.
Tora!
I don't love atheism. However, I do love freedom.
Yeah, that's why you want to kick people out of a country that you don't fucking live in for dare fucking thinking something. That's how much you love fucking freedom right there. Everybody, Pat Condell, defender of fucking freedom.
I hate my L key. And what makes it worse is that Pat Condell's surname comes with 2 fucking L's, just to rub it in.
Now really, you can't say he doesn't love freedom. He just chose a different method for protecting that freedom than you would. I wouldn't choose that method either. Throwing my lot in with global warming deniers hardly seems productive. But I stopped short of questioning his underlying motivations, and the fact that he has 2 L's in his name is irrelevant. Pat reminds me in a way of Christopher Hitchens. Hitchens has been a staunch supporter of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan since their inception, a position I personally find abhorrent. Still, Hitchens is a brilliant writer and orator, and like Condell, his descriptions of religion and its negative effects on society are brilliant. I'll continue to take from each what I find useful, and discard the rest as irrelevant, at least to me. And in Condell's defense, you people across the pond have thrown the separation of church and state out the window and allowed Sharia courts to support Islamic subjugation of women on your own soil and without major protest. How pitiful is that? And of course, the most notable of all the attacks on the big channels is the attack on Thunderfoot over his involvement in the Draw Muhammad Day protest.
Tora!
So many small channels took part in this attack, I can't remember which one started it. We did, of course, see all our favorite sharks from the Crackergate episode return for a taste of bunny blood. The most common argument used in the attacks was that Thunderfoot somehow threatened people, promoted bigotry, and supported genocide. Although his videos did appear to be made in anger, first at Viacom for illegally censoring his video, and secondly at all the small channels attempting to take him down, he never actually did any of the things he was accused of. An honest look at the transcripts of any of his video will show this to be a fact. Still, people continue to use these erroneous arguments, no matter how well it was explained to them. So for all the blockheads out there who still don't get it, let me review it one last time for you. Do you want to be a murderer? A terrorist? Do you have a burning desire for 72 virgins in the next life? Fine. By all means, attack.
Tora, Tora, Tora!
But before you do that, you might want to consider what happened to the last group of people who sent suicide bombers after the U.S. And you might want to heed the words of one of their great military leaders, Admiral Yamamoto.
アメリカの国民性から見てこれほど彼らを奮撃させるものはあるまい。これでは眠れる巨人を起こし奮い立たせる結果を招いたも同然である。
I'm just saying, this scenario might be something you'd like to avoid. Don't you think? The League of Treason. With his video, Bigotry is League of Reason Approved, Shredder is Alive attempts to implicate the primary members of the League of Reason in his erroneous attack on Thunderfoot in a petty guilt through association scheme. Fortunately, Shredder doesn't seem to have the mental capacity to generate a real feeding frenzy. This is a one-fish bottom-feeding frenzy. His attack is founded on the erroneous notion that the Draw Muhammad Day series of videos by Thunderfoot advocated genocide. And even though he quotes those videos extensively in his arguments, and those very quotes exonerate Thunderfoot, that hasn't stopped our friend Shredder from attacking the likes of TPR Jones, who's already made his thoughts on the matter clear, and Andromeda's Wake, who wants nothing to do with this argument. He makes astronomy videos. Now, having a disagreement with Thunderfoot is fine. I won't discourage anyone from making a video about it. But what makes this attack so petty is the targeting. Why would Shredder ignore video makers like myself, Bubba McMack, Anti-Bullshit Guy, and Snowwalker1, all of whom have openly made videos in support of Thunderfoot, and instead go after people like Andromeda's Wake, who want nothing to do with it? Oh, that's right. We don't have tens of thousands of subscribers. Let's face it, you won't be making a big splash on YouTube pwning me, will you? But go after some big channels, and you can get some views, maybe even start a feeding frenzy of your own. Now, Shredder, you don't really think that if you badger them enough, they'll all unsub from Thunderfoot and sub to you, do you?
Oh, but I will! Even if I have to come back tomorrow! And the next day! 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 And the next day!
Phone call, Mr. Plankton.
And the next day! And the next day! And the next day! And the next day! Ah!